Wow, these pictures just take your breath away, don't you? 8:13 now on Q13 News this morning. We are all local, all morning, in Bellingham all week long.
So blue. All right, with 86,000 people, Bellingham is the largest city in Whatcom County and the last major city on the way to Canada. It's on the shores of Bellingham Bay. Mount Baker is the backdrop, and just this year was voted one of the best places to live. And as we continue to explore all Bellingham has to offer, we also take a look at education and how colleges and universities further north are answering the demand for careers in tech.
So let's check in with Alexandra Lewis, who is live at Western Washington University, which has recently launched a cybersecurity degree. Hi, Alex.
Hi, good morning. Yeah, I mean, when you think about all of the data breach headlines you see in the news every single day, probably won't come as a surprise to you that cybersecurity experts, some of the most sought after careers in the country right now. And that's exactly why a little less than 3 years ago, WWU answered that call, creating a cybersecurity degree. And I sat down with the director of the program to find out where these students go from here.
Cybersecurity is too important to just leave for us geeks alone. It's really, we need to get everybody involved. This is a whole degree designed around what do you need to know in order to do cybersecurity.
So what does that look like for a student? I mean, I would imagine to know how to combat it, you've got to be on the other side of it too, right? You've got to hack some things.
Yes, and that's part of what our cyber range allows us to do, is put students into circumstances where they can practice hacking into a computer system across the internet. Only we don't let them do it out on the wild internet. We make them do it on a range where it's safe and where things aren't going to happen that, you know, my dean would get very upset.
Talk about job security. I think I read something recently that says, I mean, in the next 5 years, you're going to need, what, 1 million more specialists in cybersecurity?
Exactly. It's a huge growing field, and the problem is just going to get worse. I did a quick look on one of the job sites on the web the other day. 2,700 jobs in Washington State alone in cybersecurity.
So are your students ready to take on those jobs? Where are your students going and finding work?
My students they're deciding which of the jobs they're going to take. Fortunate place to be as a student coming out, but they're going in as director of security, in some cases manager of security, security engineers, security consultants, and things like that. Now, our students are really good special students because we actually bring them out of the community colleges. Before they get to us, they spend 2 years in the community college getting a cybersecurity degree.
You're competing with Seattle, which is kind of the mecca of tech in this area of the country. How are you all competitive?
Well, this is a great location for security here and in our Paulsbo location as well, because there's a number of companies that work in that area in both locations. And then we offer a really strong technical program. And a lot of cybersecurity programs are more on the administrative security and stuff like that. Ours is a strong technical program that you don't find as much at the other programs in the state.
So give me a little bit of hope here in terms of cybersecurity, because when you look at the lay of the land, it just seems so daunting. It's like there's, you know, another breach on top of a breach every single day in the news. You guys are working to change that.
We're working to change that, and we're working to change that by making strong, technically qualified people, but we're also working by trying to make people aware of what they should do in order to protect themselves.
If you like what you hear, it's not a bad idea to join this program either as a young student or an older one looking for a career change, because right now, for every 2 jobs, there's 1 person employed in cybersecurity. Guys, back to you.